Good morning and welcome to this little presentation that I originally carried out for the WA conference. I'm a retired high school teacher. I specialise in IT. My name is Roger Blatchford, and since my retirement I've still been involved in technology. I still do some relief teaching, and I was asked to come along and talk a little bit about this subject. Smartphones as a general resource in the classroom. So what I'm going to be talking about this morning is different ways that you can use apps on your smartphone to help with adult literacy and numeracy. I based it around an audience who may not have many technical skills, so I'm trying to make it sort of more of an understanding of the modern smartphone and how it works and what it can do for you. So if you are a technical person, then I apologize. You're going to find this a little sort of basic, a little simple. But I'm hoping for most of you, this might be an understanding of where we are today with the modern phone. And I'm going to start by asking a question. Have you ever noticed that on any advertisement for Apple phones and tablets, or smart devices we like to call them now, it has the time 9:41. And the question is, why? Why do they put the time 9:41? They also put a date up there as well. And I've sort of made that a little vague, so that might be an extra clue if you know what the date means. To answer the question, on Tuesday, the 9th of January 2007, at 9:41, this happened.
This is a day I've been looking forward to for 2.5 years. Every once in a while, a revolutionary product comes along that changes everything. And Apple has been, well, first of all, one's very fortunate if you get to work on just one of these in your career. Apple's been very fortunate. It's been able to introduce a few of these into the world. In 1984, we introduced the Macintosh. It didn't just change Apple, it changed the whole computer industry. In 2001, we introduced the first iPod. And it didn't just change the way we all listen to music. It changed the entire music industry. Well, today, we're introducing 3 revolutionary products of this class. The first one is a widescreen iPod with touch controls. The second is a revolutionary mobile phone. And the third is a breakthrough internet communications device. So, 3 things: a widescreen iPod with touch controls, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communications device. An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone. But what we're going to do is get rid of all these buttons and just make a giant screen. A giant screen. Now, how are we going to communicate this? We don't want to carry around a mouse, right? So what are we going to do? Oh, a stylus, right? We're going to use a stylus. No. No. Who wants a stylus? You have to get them and put them away and you lose them. Yuck. Nobody wants a stylus. So let's not use a stylus. We're going to use the best pointing device in the world. We're going to use a pointing device that we're all born with. We're born with 10 of them. We're going to use our fingers. We're going to touch this with our fingers. And we have invented a new technology called multi-touch, which is phenomenal. It works like magic. You don't need a stylus. It's far more accurate than any touch display that's ever been shipped. It ignores unintended touches. It's super smart. You can do multi-finger gestures on it. And boy, have we patented it.
So there we go. 15 years ago, almost 15 years ago, that's when we introduced the first phone. And how often have we taken for granted the fact that you can just touch your phone screen and move things around and open things. But it was revolutionary at the time. Now, we need to talk about different types of phone. And there are two main phones that are out there. And they use two different operating systems. The operating system is what makes the phone work. So on Apple, we have iOS. And that works the iPhone and the iPad. The I stands for Internet, by the way. So it's Internet connected phone and Internet connected pad. Yeah, iPhone and iPad. So it's an Internet operating system, iOS. Interestingly, just aside, the Apple Watch is called Apple Watch. It's not called an iWatch. If you ever thought, why didn't they use the word iWatch for it? It makes sense, doesn't it? iPhone, iPad, iWatch. Well, somebody beat them to it. Somebody actually registered that name ahead of them bringing out the Apple Watch, and then wanted to charge Apple so much for that name, to buy that name off them, iWatch, that they refused. They said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to call it an Apple Watch, which is why it's got that name and not iWatch. Okay, so we're talking about two operating systems. Apple and Android. Okay, Android is the other operating system. It's owned by Google or run by Google, and most other phones use that. So 90% of phones that are on the Android system. So they're either on Apple or Android operating system. So let's have a look at how it works. Worldwide, Android has about 70% of the market, but in Australia, Android only has 41% of the market. So in Australia, as you can see, 56% of the phones that are out there are using iPhones, using Apple operating systems. And that shows the sort of the wealth of our country, that obviously the iPhone is more expensive. So let's talk about what is an operating system. How does that work? Well, it's probably the most important software that runs on your computer. You don't actually see it running, you don't know it's running in the background. But often you get updates for it. You need to update your operating system. Yeah? So it manages things like the computer memory and processors, as well as all this hardware and software that goes on. So it's all the things that happen in the background that you don't have to think about. And if you sort of compare it, let's say, to the human brain, there's things that are happening in the human brain all the time that we don't even worry about. Breathing is the obvious one. Yeah? We're breathing in and out the whole time. The heart is pumping away the whole time, pumping blood around the body. Your balance, you can stand up straight without falling over. So there's a balance thing going all the whole time. If you lean forward, you lean back, you don't just fall over. You're balanced. So all these things are happening in the background of the human body. So it's a bit like the operating system of the human body. If you reach out and touch something, you can feel whether it's hot or cold. Yeah? But on the other hand, so there's things like that. So that sort of things are happening with a computer at the same time. So it also allows you to communicate with the computer without knowing how to speak that computer's language. So computer language is the way the software works on the computer, the way it actually communicates within itself. But how do we communicate with it? Well, on your iPhone, you communicate by touching the screen or by talking to it. You use Siri now a lot more to talk to it. Excuse that bell, we're in a classroom at the moment. So, effectively, without an operating system, a computer is useless. The other type of software that's on your smartphone, your smart device, is called application software. Okay, or we call them apps. So you go to the App Store to get an app. We've shortened it to apps, but it's application software. That's what it really stands for. And they're programs written to perform a particular task, so do something particular, whether it's playing a game, whether it's doing your email, whether it's doing Messenger, whether it's doing a video call, whether it's listening to music. Okay? They perform a particular task. So on the iOS phones or Apple phones, the apps are downloaded from what they call the App Store, and on Android phones, they're downloaded from the Google Play Store. Okay, so these are the symbols you'd see if you wanted to get something. If you were on your Apple phone, you'd have that symbol on your screen to download, or if you were on a bigger device, it will tell you to download from the App Store like that. You've probably seen these before, but I'm just making that distinction between the two types of operating systems and why we have to have them. Now, on the Apple phones, because Apple control both the hardware and the software, Apple's operating system and Apple apps only work on Apple devices. They can control the quality and performance of those apps much better. On Android app operating systems, it covers a whole range of makes and models of phones. And so they have to be more lenient in their app design and what they allow onto their App Store, onto Google Play. In that way, you might find that the quality isn't so good, or there could be bugs, or it doesn't work as well. So in both sense, but it's the way the world is. I mean, the Android phones are generally cheaper to buy and cheaper to use, but may not be as reliable or as efficient on some of the apps you use. Just as a sort of bit of background, so you're aware of that. Okay, now let's look at some apps that were to enhance teaching and learning. This is what I was actually asked to talk about. And I considered a number of points before I actually went looking for them. Firstly, they must work on both operating systems. So no good telling you how wonderful something is and how well it works if it doesn't work on both operating systems. They should be free to install and use. Now, this is a sort of a bit of a grey area because, yes, they could be free to install, but often there's a couple of things that the app will have built into it. One, it'll have inbuilt ads. So ever so often an advertisement will pop up for something. Okay? And you have to be aware of that. If you're paying it for free, that's how they're going to make money off that app. So it pops up with an ad and you can choose to ignore that ad or give it a go. Okay, or go onto that website or that link that comes up with the app. The other way they can do it is they'll offer you the chance to buy into that app, and that will get rid of the advertisements, or it'll help you move to another level or a better level or more. And the price can be quite, a couple of dollars, $2 or $3, up to $10. So it's probably not very much, but then it sort of unlocks that app so you don't get the ads with it. So sometimes it's useful doing that. I was looking for apps that would appeal to a wide age group. And we've found with adult learnings, there can be from anything from teenagers that were struggling to stay at school and the school system, right through to grandparents who have survived all their lives without having to read and write properly, but still want to be able now to converse and work with their grandchildren even. So I've talked to sort of grandmothers and grandparents that are saying, well, I'd love to be able to read a story to my granddaughter or grandson. So we're trying to appeal to a wide age group. We looked at apps that should be interactive and rewarding. We just don't want apps where you're filling, I've been in classrooms, adult learning classrooms, where they're just filling out worksheets, and there's no real incentive to improve. If we can get an app that is almost a bit like a game, playing a game, so that you can get better at it and reward from it. And you might be rewarded in silly ways. You might get coins, that not real money, but just play coins that allow you to move to the next level or advance your status and things. There might be apps where you can play against each other, against different people, and some of the apps I'm going to show you today allow you to do that, and that makes it rewarding as well. But also that we looked at apps where we could provide a feedback so that your teacher or your practitioner can get some idea of how you're going, whether you're using it, whether it's helping helping the students in their development. Okay, so a quick question before we keep going. Would your mobile phone be powerful enough to get you to the moon? Well, the answer is quite simple. They now have over 100,000 times more processing power than the Apollo 11 computer. 100,000 more times. Okay, and they come with what we call 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now, RAM is random access memory. Without getting too technical, it's the memory that you have when you're actually using the phone. So if you're listening to music, doing your email, sending a message, all those are 3 different apps. Each one will take up some part of that 4 gigabytes of RAM. Okay. When you switch your phone off or you shut your phone down or you get rid of those apps, it doesn't stay in that memory. Okay, so that's like a temporary memory that you use when you're actually using something. Okay? The other memory, which is the 512 gigabytes of storage, and now these numbers can go up and down, you can get more or less, is things that are permanently stored on your phone. Photos, videos, movies sometimes, anything that you permanently store. The actual application software itself for those apps that you have on your phone are in that longer term storage. And both of those can get filled up. So if you've got a phone, an older phone with perhaps less storage, and you're wondering why you can't save anything else on it, save any more pictures on it, it's because you've used up all that storage you have. Okay, so just so you're aware of that. Okay, so we looked at sort of 15 possible apps that we could work with, 6 for literacy, 4 for numeracy, and then 5 apps. And I'm going to run through these quickly and try and demonstrate them to you. And this is the first app we decided to look at. When I started looking at different apps, particularly on the literacy side, a lot of them were aimed at young children, kindergarten, pre-primary, year 1 type students. And it's not really the sort of thing we were looking for adult learners. So luckily, by going to the British... Oh, the other problem I had was a lot of them were American as well, with American spelling and American accents and things. So I first of all went to the British Council. And luckily in here, thanks to lottery money, they have produced a couple of nice little apps that you can have for helping with grammar and learning to read. And I'm going to demonstrate one of those to you in a second. So this is the first one. It's called Learn English Grammar, and it improves your grammar accuracy. And I'm going to actually demonstrate that on a phone to you in just a second. Okay, this is the first app I'm going to show you, Learn English Grammar, done by the British Council. And for this, we're just going to go into the practice, and I'm just going to show you one of the first ones, the Beginner Pack 1. So I click on Beginner Pack 1, and within Beginner Pack 1, we've still got some other options we can go to. There's quite a lot of different options, as you see as I scroll up and down. But I'll just very quickly show you the first one, so you've got an idea of what it is. So, which sentence is correct? They is children, they are children, they be children. All right, so they are children. We think it's the correct answer. Click on that, hit done, and yes, we've got a score of 1 out of 25. Continue. Remember, if this is British, so they're British policemen. He is a police officer. So we know it's male and we know he is a police officer. Done. Okay, continue. Are you John? Be you John? Is you John? Isn't you John? So what do you think? Are you John is the right answer? Let's have a look. And yeah, we've got 3 right so far. Okay, I'll just do one more. They is students. She is a student. Yeah. I am English. He is American. She a student. I am English. He are American. They is students. I am English, do you think? Done. And there we go. Got the idea? So this is how this one works. It works very simply, and they can build up on it and get their results. So there's a quick idea of our first one that we've used. Again, unfortunately, you get this happening. Remember I talked about having an ad that suddenly pops up and it's counting down, and I can now remove that ad and I can go back to where I was. So you can, again, pay a small price and get rid of those ads if you want to. So as well as practicing, there are different tests you can do on this as well. If I go quickly into tests, so there's tests for each beginner's pack. So again, this has a timer. Can you see how we've now got a timer clicking away? So she's visited the UK. Let's try that one. She's visited the UK. Is that correct? 1 out of 23. Yeah. Got the idea?